It said that we should live a simple life as possible. Whatever you need to maintain your family, that's okay. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. Life is meant for jivasya tattva jignyas, means to inquire into the nature of the absolute. That doesn't mean anything about where we're from, who we are. It's the same for everyone. We have the good fortune, you have the good fortune, in one sense, of appearing in a family where most likely you've heard of Bhagavad Gita as a child. You probably heard of Ramayana, you probably heard of Mahabharata, and so many other Puranas and different stories from the Vedas and different forms of Godhead. You probably at least understand theoretically you're not your body, you're a spirit soul. But this type of knowledge is not very, very common in most of the world. Even in most religions it's not very often mentioned. But in the culture of India particularly, this is like common understanding. Buddhism also has this common understanding, although their understanding of the soul is not very mature. They know they're not the body at least. But in most parts of the world, it's hardly the case. So it's a great good fortune, but if we don't take advantage of the good fortune, then it's unfortunate. Instead of fortunate, when you've got money or you've got some quality and you don't use it, that's very unfortunate. That's from the point of view of karma, materially speaking, that's not good. You'll lose the benefit of that. You have to use it properly. And then you get, materially speaking, good karma. Spiritually speaking, if you use this opportunity, then you can get spiritual blessings, you could say. One can make spiritual progress and bring to an end our cycle, the samsara cycle of birth and death. It doesn't go away just by going to heaven. It doesn't go away just by forming pious activities or different karma called karma kanda yajnas and so on for material elevation or whatever it may be. Peace, this thing and that thing. That's not the goal of human life, just to try to make better the material world. The goal is to actually gain liberation from the material world, freedom from the whole cycle. So we're going to read today from Krishna words in the Bhagavad Gita. I don't know if you have a systematic order of reading. Is there anything systematic in this regard?
Is there any order?
The verse Maharaj, Sanskrit translation, as usual.
Yeah, but I mean, are you on verse like chapter 14, text 20 or something?
It just started last week, actually. It just started last week, So
just started last week, okay. Okay, well I hope it doesn't finish this week. We sometimes start and finish too quickly.
As you know, Maharaj, of course, now every Sunday.
Yeah, but that's not this. This is different. Yeah, this is separate from that. But still, sometimes you have an order. You read a verse a week or a chapter a week. Okay, I'm going to choose a chapter if you don't mind, because there's I don't know. Anyway, we'll just choose a chapter. How many chapters are there in the Bhagavad Gita? 18 chapters. Very good. And what is the Bhagavad Gita? What is Krishna talking about? I got my lunch here if I get hungry, by the way. In the middle of the program. There. What's Krishna talking about in the Bhagavad Gita? What's the subject matter? Come on, you all should know something at least.
Surrender to Godhead.
Okay, that's a very conclusive aspect, isn't it? Isn't that in the last chapter? Well, he says it quite a few times. He mentions it in the 4th chapter, actually, which we look at now. But in the last chapter, there's a famous verse, perhaps the most famous, one of them anyway. I think someone wants to get in the door, but it's not very easy because somebody's sitting in front of the door there. We have to move a little bit more so we can come in and out. What's that? Who knows the famous verse in the 18th chapter regarding surrender? You should all know it. Pardon? Yeah, the English is there. You know the Sanskrit, some of you from Indian backgrounds. Are they changing the name of India back to Bharat? Like someone told me that the other day, that the government is planning to change the name of the country to Bharat. I don't know. That's what they told me. I don't know. Maybe that's what you know. Anyway, you're from Indian, whatever you want to call it, Bharat, cultured backgrounds. What's this famous verse in Sanskrit you may know?
18.66.
Say the verse.
Sarva dharman parityaja mam evam sharanam vraja. I think that is the famous.
That's enough, huh? Okay, we got halfway through the verse here. Aham sarvasya prabhu. No, what is it? Sarva dharman parityaja mamikam sharanam vraja. Next line. Yes, and what does that mean? Abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. Not me, Krishna. I will, Krishna says, what will he do? Surrender to me, I'll take everything away from you and enjoy what you thought was yours. No. What did he say?
Protect you from all your sinful reactions.
Where's that coming from? Oh, yeah. An unembodied voice, I thought for a minute. Protect you from all your sinful reactions and
Do not fear.
do not fear. Sometimes we're afraid. We're going to lose it anyway. That's the point. However much you have in your property, your family, your health, your wealth, your everything, knowledge, your position in society, everything is going to be taken away, isn't it? Can we keep anything? Can we? Not really. We don't want to lose it. Now, of course, your families are very much, usually Indian families, more, perhaps a little more amongst the Catholics, I don't know. But less and less we see in the Western world, the link in the family is not so strong. But in Asia and India, not only India, many Asian countries, the family binding is very strong. If anything happens in the family, it's a big issue, isn't it? I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times, and I've lived in Indian communities for years. So, it's very, very strong. It's everywhere in the world, but it's very strong amongst your culture. Very strong. So you know how much pain there is involved there. Even the person's like your mother or grandmother, maybe 100 years old, still, you expect them to move along, but it's still very painful, isn't it? Even they're 100 years old. We all feel that wherever we're from in the world, but more so you could say. But you're going to have to lose it. You can't keep it. Everything's like that. I mean, down to little tiny little things, we get so disturbed. And has anyone here got a mobile phone? Does anyone here have a mobile? Young lady, do you have a mobile? Not yet. Oh my goodness. What was that noise just now I heard? What's that? Somebody singing in the background?
It's a present.
Huh? I think everyone's too kind of like embarrassed to put their hand up. How many of you have come on, don't be shy. How many have a mobile phone? Men and women, don't be shy. Is there a single person in this room who doesn't have one? Is there a single person? Huh? Nitai, you don't have a mobile? I've got a spare one. You want?
He does have one, but he refuses to use it.
Good man. Good boy. Almost everyone. Some people have got two. Someone just gave me another one to replace the previous one. That more or less almost young kids have got mobiles. 7 years, 6 years old. Huh? Even younger. Isn't it incredible? Now, how do you feel when you lose your mobile? Oh, fantastic! I've had a great day. Oh, I couldn't have asked for anything better than this. What good karma I have today. I've lost my mobile. It's a day for a celebration. Probably not. You can get in quite a bit of anxiety, right, if you lose your mobile. I don't know. It depends what you've got on it, I guess. Depends what type of mobile it is. Yeah, I heard you can spend thousands of euros on mobiles or pounds. Is that right? Some of them cost more than £1,000. Is that right? I've never bought one in my life. I've been given one or two now and again. Imagine you lose it, you've got all your data on there, all your contacts, your appointments, well, I don't know what else maybe some information on there you don't want anyone to know about. You never know what's on there, and you lose it. What am I going to do? I've lost my mobile. You can really have quite a panic attack almost. Just over, now don't forget 20 years ago, did you have a mobile?
No.
Probably not. Computer's less than mobile, I think, in this regard. 20 years ago, they didn't even exist in the public. Maybe 30 years ago. I don't know how many years, but not so long ago, they didn't exist. You never even thought about them. There was no cause of anxiety there. We create so many different causes in this material world of stress and anxiety. We think this thing is, well, we may use them for what we consider convenient purposes, but in the bigger picture, you're going to lose it all. We work very hard in this lifetime to accumulate various things or relationships and positions and so on, and we are going to lose it all. How long will you stay the Queen of England? We've just lost our Queen, right? She had a good innings. She was 70 years, huh? She was 70, but her innings came to the end. That was the longest innings anyone had, I think, in the royal family. Quite a good run, 70 years, but then finished. Okay, she did a lot of pious things in her life. She actually did. You may or may not know, but she actually went through this particular volume of the Bhagavad Gita. She had it. She read it, at least some of it. She made a statement one time. She said, it would be very good if everyone could depend on Krishna. She made that statement herself. So she wasn't an ordinary lady, although she had to play a role or whatever it was. She certainly did have some spiritual inclinations in her life, that's for sure. But aside from that, her role finished. Over, now new king. Same everywhere in every position. We all move along. Another body, we don't know where, when and how, but another body will come its way according to our karma and desire. So this goes on ad infinitum. We feel greatly pained when we lose what we're attached to. So there's one thing you won't lose if you become attached to, and that is Krishna. You become attached to Krishna. That's the whole idea of Bhagavad Gita. Ultimately, to become attached. Mamana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskar. Or think of me. That is not dependent upon the externals. They come and go. But our relationship with Krishna is eternal. So we need to move forward a little bit, please. Maybe we can still squeeze forward a little bit more if it's getting crowded in here, I know, but if we can remove that will make a little bit more space for everyone. You have such a nice daughter, I can't believe it. She's like a little angel. So quiet. Such a good girl. Hare Krishna, what's her name? Pranavi? Beautiful name. Haribol Pranavi. Pranavi. He's not got a cognition quite set yet. Haribol Pranavi.
Over there, she's sleeping actually.
It's saying that. Children's cognition is not completely tuned in at a certain stage. They get tuned in. So yes, fearless, and fear. When we're tendency to be afraid of losing things, not just the result of losing them, the pain you feel when you lose something, right? But there's a fear of loss too, isn't there? Isn't it? We're afraid of losing things. We're afraid of getting sick. We're afraid of, well, now we have this crazy thing going on in Ukraine. Afraid of war. We're afraid of corona. For years, maybe some of you were affected. Coronavirus, people were afraid of the COVID, right? Many people were afraid. Still to this day, many people are paranoid because of COVID. I know some people, they haven't been out of the house in 3 years since it started, whenever it started, 2 years. Afraid of getting... Fear. Fear is a pervasive factor. When we fear of getting sick, fear of getting loose, fear of loss. and so on. So that's another fact. Even without losing it, before it even happens, there's a unwanted emotion, fear of loss. Because we've created this false idea that we are the proprietor, that I am the owner, that this is mine. And mainly we think that this body is mine, me, not even mine. Some that say it's my body. But we also, when asked, most people, they only answer is, this is me. They say it's mine, but when you ask them, who are you? They say, this is me. Now, have you ever come across anything which is me and mine is the same thing? It's not logical, is it? Me and mine, how can they be exactly? They may be related, for sure, but they're not exactly the same thing. Is it? I'm seeing you, so does that make me you? Not exactly. We may be related. But I'm seeing. I'm the seer, and this is the seen. Or, say for instance, what can we give an example? Okay, this is my water bottle. Right? But does that bottle me? Is it me? No. So to say my body, and then say the body is me, is not complete. It may be related, but it's insufficient. It's not complete. It's not correct. It may be partially correct, but it's not completely correct at all. Way off. Even the mind, we say, don't you say my mind? Have you ever said that? Have you ever said that? Have you heard people say that? I'm having a lot of trouble with my mind. You go to the psychiatrist. I don't know if anyone here has experienced this. You go to the psychiatrist and you say, what's the problem? What's happening? I'm really having a problem with my mind. So again, it's the same thing. There's something beyond that. But hardly there's any understanding or even endeavour to understand that which is beyond the mind and body. Hardly. Or our what's known false ego. This term is, people talk of ego, they don't understand the difference between ego and false ego. Ego means identity. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with ego itself. It's only when the ego becomes, let's say, misdirected, the identity becomes covered by maya, illusory energy, and we have what's called ahankara, or false ego, where we identify ourselves with that which we're not. We're related to it, but that's not our real identity, because you're going to lose that identity. You know, you identify yourself right now with being a man or a woman, being Indian or Irish, or Hindu or Catholic, or atheist, or whatever it is, particular occupation in life, but that's just a temporary identity. It's not a real identity. Just like any of you taken part in a dream, in a drama, quite close to each other, dream and drama. Drama, anyone taken part in a drama? Yeah? Long time ago? Okay. You know, in a drama, you know what you... I don't know, if you're a little experienced in dramas, you'll know easily, but what's basically the golden rule of being in a drama? Excuse me? Somebody said something, I didn't hear it.
Playing the role.
Playing the role of the character, yeah. Okay, and you can take that further. That's like, there's two sides. That's one side. And the other side is in a drama. Say, for instance, you're a really nice guy or girl in society, very gentle, kind person, and your role in the drama is Ravana. You all know Ravana? Anyone know? Ravana is archdemon, one of the most fierce demons of the universe history. So you have to play that role in the drama. But you're a really nice man in society. You try not to hurt anyone. You're very generous. You're very, faithful to your family, everything. And you're going to play the role of Ravana, who's fierce, aggressive, lusty, you name it. All kinds of negative, envious, you name it. Different to your daily position. So what do you have to do? Okay, you've got to identify with Ravana, okay, to play your part in the drama. What else do you have to do? You go on the stage, I can't do this. No. She's the wife of somebody else. I can't go near. I can't even look at her. Will you be able to play the role of Ravana? Not at all. Not at all. Totally zero. I can't go near this lady. She's the husband of Ram. I can't go near her. Forget it. No way. I'm not going to even think about it. This is terrible. You can't possibly. Ravana didn't think twice about it. There was only one thought. Get her at all cost. Kill, rape, do anything but get her. Madman. Madness. Ravenous. Now you have to forget your identity if you're in the drama. Completely forget you're a nice man, that you have a faithful... this is a drama. It's not like, in real life you could say. But actually that's what's happening. Where Maya causes us, we're responsible for it in the, beyond and above that. But she causes us to forget our real identity and identify ourselves with this material world. It's not our real identity. Religion is to try to help us slowly come out of this illusion. It's not that the religion is the end of it. That's a process to try to help us to come out of the illusion. But if we get caught up on the path of religiosity, thinking it's simply to improve our position in the illusory world, or like in a dream, to help improve our role in the dream, we've missed the point. Krishna is saying here, for instance, Sarva Dharmam Parityagya, all Sarva Dharmam Parityagya, give up all religions. That doesn't mean he's telling you become irreligious. It means the ultimate purpose of all religions, Savai Pung Sang Paro Dharmo, Veto Bhaktir Hokshide, Hoitikiya Patirtha, Yayatma Supasidity. The topmost religious practice is that which enables us to engage in pure, loving, devotional service to the Lord. That alone will satisfy the self. So religion, if it doesn't bring us to that point, is really not of any... it's maybe beneficial from a position of being more pious and so on, but ultimately it's no real value unless it helps to bring us to that point. Because we still remain in illusion under the influence of Maya. Even if you go to heaven or hell or wherever it is, whatever loka we're on, we're still in illusion. We're still subjected to fear, birth and death, and so on and so forth. Every planet, Krishna says, Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinochina. From the topmost to the lowest, everywhere is a place of suffering. Repeated birth and death, no matter where we are. So the idea is to gain freedom from this cycle. So the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is called Transcendental Knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshravamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manolvishta Tapitam Yena Bhuttate Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sanyamani Pastachare Shatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauravaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Haribo. Fourth chapter Bhagavad Gita is the knowledge which we've been talking about, spiritual knowledge, to help to transcend. It doesn't mean we ignore material knowledge, by the way, but rather we learn how to use material knowledge for a spiritual purpose. That's all. You can be in IT. How many of you are in IT in this room? How many of you are involved in it? Most of the Indian gentlemen are involved. You're also in IT. Most of the Indian gentlemen are involved in IT. Any nurses with us today, or were nurses?
Okay.
Well, only one. Huh? One. I think there's one more somewhere in the building, maybe, I don't know.
It's good to have a nurse in the building.
Yeah, nurse in the building. Good idea. But many Indian ladies, not perhaps from your particular backgrounds or not, but many are Indian nurses are also there. And most of the Indian ladies, I guess you're housewives. Is that mostly the case? Housewives? Housewives? Some of you are housewives, maybe. You're housewives. Whatever, we've got our in different professions and different occupations. It doesn't mean, Krishna doesn't say give that up. What he's giving up here, or saying give up, it doesn't mean give up being pious either. It doesn't necessarily mean give up your practices for whatever reason you may be involved in various practices or religious practices, but to understand them in their proper light. To give up the idea or dependence upon them, we could say, or our addiction to various fruits which come from our practices. Give this up, because that will not ultimately satisfy the self. Only pure devotional service to God will satisfy Atman, the soul, the Atma. So in the 4th chapter, we see, is called, who knows the title of the 4th chapter? How many of you have read Bhagavad Gita? Have you read Bhagavad Gita? Soon. Very soon. How many of you have read Bhagavad Gita? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't even look at you. You don't put your hands up unless I look at you. This is funny. Anyone look at puts their hands up. I don't know if it's because you read it or not. You've read it? Huh? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Put your hand up if you've read Bhagavad Gita. So there's a lot of honest souls in this room, in one sense, because you haven't read it. I do, honestly. We probably read a lot of books on IT or whatever their subject matter is, in professional sense. We probably read a lot of books on news or material knowledge or whatever. And it isn't that big. I mean, I guess you've got volumes, copies here in the temple. It's probably 900 pages long, I don't know. Yeah, this one's 900. Some of them are a little shorter, depending on the size of the print, I guess. But please do take advantage of it. We don't know how much time we've got. Human life is very valuable. You don't find many dogs sitting around reading the Bhagavad Gita. Do we? See many? Yeah, maybe you don't have pet, you do. I haven't seen many. Pet dogs, some of you may or may not. I think most Indian people do not have, but sometimes they do. Pets, a pet dog or a cat or something. You don't see them sitting around, because they may have some other level of communication, but they certainly don't sit around reading Bhagavad Gita, that's for sure. The human beings can, and especially you from mostly Indian backgrounds. It's a great opportunity, having taken this birth, Brahmanda Brahmite Kom, Bhagavan Jeev, after wandering lifetimes in this material world. Now we have the good fortune in this human life to progress spiritually by the mercy of the Lord and the Lord's devotees, to begin the Bhakti Lata Bij, to cultivate this seed of devotion, especially Indian, those Bhumite, what's that? Brahmate Kom, Bhagavan Jeev. But when we have this chance, born in a family, an Indian family particularly, it's a great responsibility to take this process on board. Brahmate, Wala Manushya Janmajara, Janma Satikakara Kara Para Upakara, and to share this with others. So this 4th chapter is called Divya Gyan, Transcendental Knowledge. And it's not necessary, you could say, we may think about something like, some analysis of Brahman and the various, tattvas of the spiritual realm or something, but no, it's more directed towards how to achieve transcendental knowledge. Krishna is giving instructions in the Bhagavad Gita for conditioned souls like us in this world. She wants to play harmonium. You want to play harmonium? Yeah, she's going to be a good harmonium player if you let her. Knowledge which will help us to come to the ultimate transcendence. So I'm just going to... This is received, by the way. The first 3 verses of this chapter deal with the process of how we receive this knowledge. How do we receive this knowledge spiritually? What is the process of receiving spiritual knowledge?
By the succession.
Yeah, descending process is the ascending, which is our own endeavor or speculation or experimentation, science, philosophy, and so on, which is generally based upon our own endeavor, analysis, and so on. Very hard path, generally not conclusive, ever evolving. Somebody else then dismisses your conclusion and establishes another one. It's not actually solid knowledge. It's knowledge which is relative, usually. Sometimes facts they come across, but usually it's relative. So the descending process is that the knowledge is already there. Just like Mum knows how to cook. Did you learn to cook from your mum? Usually that's the way, isn't it? In India, at least. You learn from your mum. You don't speculate. She'll get on your case if you speculate. Right? That's not the way you do it. Of course you can come up with new recipes. That's not a material thing, so naturally you can. But primarily the mother, grandmother, whatever, is teaching you to cook. This is the way you do it, just like this. She has maybe she's got some of her own special recipes she's developed over her life. But this is the way she teaches you. You learn from somebody who knows. Not somebody who's speculating, but somebody who knows the science. The same thing will be there in probably all subject matters. Some are may not yet been matured. But generally you learn from somebody who knows. You have a coach, you have a teacher, you have a mentor, you have somebody who's showing you how to do it. That's the descending process. You don't just speculate on it. Usually there's a combination, of course, in our life of the two. But the descending process means that the knowledge, there's a difference between material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is eternal. It never changes. It may increase, but it doesn't change in terms of its actual conclusion or its substance. The substance may increase. The material world, the knowledge is always changing because the world is ever changing. And it depends on where you are and who you are, the history, time, place, and circumstance. But spiritual knowledge is eternal. It doesn't mean one religion has it and the other doesn't. All religion is to help us to realize it. Philosophy is also meant for that purpose. Science is also meant. But because they generally put aside the descending process, in most cases, they won't reach that point. Very, very difficult, Krishna says in 12th chapter. Very difficult to come to the conclusion. Bahunam dhanmante gyanavan mam prapajate. After many, many births, one may, but it's a very difficult path. So he's making the path a little simple here for sincere and humble persons. You hear it from the authority, and that's the way this knowledge has been passed down. And Krishna says, because that line has been broken, I'm speaking this to you now, Arjuna. Krishna speaking to his devotee, Arjuna. There's circumstances we can't get into, but that's the principle. And Arjuna then wonders, wait a minute, Krishna, you said you spoke this in the beginning to Vivasvan. Now this particular line of Samsa, line from Vivasvan coming down from the sun god, is the kings, the line of Kshatriyas or kings. The knowledge has been broken, so therefore I'm teaching again. So Arjuna requests, wait a minute, Krishna, we're more or less the same age, you know that. Am I expected to believe that you spoke this sun god in the beginning? I mean, we're talking of a long time ago here, Krishna. It wasn't like last year. Maybe, God knows how long. Billions of years ago, maybe. How am I supposed to believe this? So what does Krishna say? Many births we've all taken. Coming, of course, Krishna doesn't take a material birth, but he appears many times in every millennium. Ordinary soul may take birth after birth, but whatever way you look at it, we've appeared many, many times in this world, Arjuna, but you've forgotten. You can't remember. I remember, Krishna can remember everything. Nothing, because it doesn't change his body. Eternal. So he can remember everything. You cannot know. Krishna then explains a little bit about transcendental knowledge. He says, I'm unborn. Soul actually is unborn. We just think that we're being born, and we think we're dying. It's the body which is dying. The soul is also unchanging, but we're fallible. The Kshara, living entity, is fallible. Infallible means those who are transcendental to this bodily identity. But as long as we're in the bodily identity, we're known as fallible. So we forget. Fallible souls forget. So we're fallible. We cannot remember these things. But Krishna is unborn. His body never deteriorates because it's transcendental. Whoops. He's the Lord of all living entities. But still he appears in every millennium. He comes again and again in different forms. Why? He then explains why. Why does he come in this world? Is he coming here for the same reasons as us? Kind of be difficult for him to do that, since he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're here because we want to try to kind of like not play our role as servants of the Supreme. So we come to this world, we can forget our role. We think that I'm the master, I'm the center of everything, I'm the enjoyer, and so on like this. So Krishna himself is the enjoyer, he is the center, he is the master. So obviously that wouldn't be one of his excuses. We may come for that reason, but he doesn't. Why does he come?
Whenever adharma overcomes.
Yes, exactly. Famous verse, first verse I ever learned in the Bhagavad Gita when I was young to this movement. Yada yada hi dharmasya glaniya bhavati bharata bhutanam dharmasya tatatmanam shujamyaham. Would you like to speak something? What would you like to say? Hare Krishna. Does she speak?
No, not yet.
Not quite yet. Very soon she'll be speaking. Hare Krishna. He's enthusiastic. So yes, the Lord appears in this world again and again to establish genuine religious principles. People have a phobia about religion nowadays, many, especially amongst the younger generation, because it's misunderstood, mispracticed, misrepresented. You know, people are not following it, so it's not surprising. Why would people want to take it seriously? If they got any intelligence, I wouldn't. But real religion is constitution of the soul. It's nothing to do with a dogmatic practice, because we don't know why we're doing it. Maybe it's to go to heaven, or to avoid going to hell. We had a great time yesterday. Wasn't it fun? We were at Krishna Katha. You were there, Prabhu. On the street yesterday, chanting Hare Krishna in Belfast. I don't know if you saw that other man who had a slightly different opinion about what we were doing on the street. Did you see him? You saw us. You must have kind of missed him. He was there from beginning to end, practically, wasn't it? I think he came out for about 5 minutes. He manifested, and he was still there when we left. He calmed down a little bit. I kind of cooled off a little bit towards the end. Dog came along, different thing. There was one man that was very enthusiastic, telling us, basically, we're like the devil, and we should, be cast out and thrown away, and we're going to hell and taking everyone with us to hell, and so on and so forth. Didn't seem like many people were taking much positive notice of his enthusiastic expressions. Very loud and very enthusiastic and non-stop. Sort of 2 hours he went on. And then eventually he had a board. He had this big board he was holding up there. One of his mates came along with a board. And, the usual thing. They're going to hell, repent or burn, or this type of thing. He was really enthusiastic. I must give credit where credit's due. And he heard the holy name. But, that's not religion. Just this threatening, angry, threatening. Religion is the constitution of the soul. The nature of the soul. Not this conditional religious idea. That can help us to eventually realize that, but it's not in of itself true religion. It's called dharma koitava pujita. That it's like cheating if it doesn't take us to the higher level. So people get caught in this kind of bubble where they think that's it. She's great. Why are you taking her away? Huh?
She's disturbing.
Well, not disturbing me. I tell you, I find her extremely enlivening. She's such a good kid. You're blessed. Yeah. Certainly not disturbing me. If she's disturbing you, that's fine. I'm disturbing everyone. It's your child, it's not my child. You do as you wish. But so Krishna's come here. He's not just going to give us another religion, an Indian religion, a Hindu religion. No, he's giving us truth which applies to every living being, everything that exists, in fact. What is the purpose of everything? How we can achieve our eternal constitutional nature. Dharma means that which is irremovable. In reality, it's constitutional. So Krishna is teaching us that which is constitutional. And he comes to establish those real principles. And he comes to enliven the devotees and remove the non-devotees. Now that means, it doesn't just mean, my friends and enemies. Krishna is equal to all. To remove the demoniac tendencies or the sensual tendencies or the selfish tendencies, the ignorance, to remove this. This is his purpose, to remove it by whatever means it takes in different ages, but to take it away like that. And then a key verse in this chapter. We don't have time, we're running out of time. We've run out of time. We started late. A key verse in this chapter, text number 9 of the 4th chapter. It's basically speaking, you could say, from the point of view of conclusion, the essential verse of this chapter, Janma Karma. Who knows this verse? Janma Karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvadaha chakvadeham punarjaman naiti mam eti sujana. Naiti mam eti sujana. Who knows this verse? Anyone know? We've known each other 40 years. 40 years now. 1983, I think I first met. Yeah. How many years ago is that? Almost 40. Malaysia. I lived in Malaysia more or less for about 12 years. Jimina's from Malaysia. She was family were all devotees, and one of the first devotees we met there in Malaysia. So, what does it mean?
Janma Karma, one who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance. Janma Karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvatah. Evam yo veti tattvatah. That means one.
One who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities.
Activities, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Janma Karma chame divyam evam yo
That's what that lines mean.
Yeah. And then after that is
Tyakva deham.
Punarjanma.
When you don't take birth again in this world. And the last line?
Naiti mameti sarjana.
Which is? Naiti mam eti sorjuna. One attains to my abode. One attains my eternal abode. You go back to Godhead. Just by this understanding, transcendental nature of Godhead. He's not just an old man sitting in a big throne or something. But he's, whoops, careful there. Oh, stiff legs. Oh, body. Do we really want to be this body forever? Really? Why do we, we're so attached to this body, and then you got toothaches, headaches, you got this problem, that problem. You have a spiritual body which is blissful, transcendental, eternal. It's just so ecstatic. We're so attached. Bhagavad Gita helps us to realize, these things. Also, how to become a little less dependent upon this material identity and identify with our spiritual nature and our relationship with Krishna. So this verse is, and the rest of the chapter, we go on. Krishna then explains the nature, you could say, of those who are, let's say, fortunate, those who are taking refuge in him, how one becomes freed of fear, anger, attachment, and so on, and thus become in knowledge of Krishna, Hare Krishna, and they can attain love for Krishna. Love, it's not just going somewhere and there you are. You could say the impetus or the vehicle which we transcend is our relationship, is a loving relationship with Krishna. And then Krishna explains, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Now, there are different steps of surrender. Different steps. It's not that the verse which was mentioned right in the beginning, Sarvadharma Krishnagya, is the last conclusive verse of instruction. But there are 690 verses before that, leading up to this complete surrender. It may be surrendering the fruits of our work. It may be performing some authorized yagyas of certain kinds. It could be all different time, place, and circumstance. Many different stages according to the condition we're in, to help us to step-by-step surrender and realize why. It's not just forced. It has to come from our own hearts. And then the rest is much of the next chapter of the chapter then deals with the nature of the living entity and how, according to our nature, we can act in a way which will lead to transcendence. Because most people are very attached to sense gratification. Therefore Krishna says, I have given this process called Varna Ashram Dharma, which is a system of organizing human society in a way to give everyone a chance to gradually, even without their knowledge, to gradually progress on the spiritual path. Varna Ashram. Unfortunately, it's become perverted, degraded in what we call the caste system nowadays, which has lost its original intentions and has become diverted in its actual essential structure. And thus we don't get the result, and naturally people are turning against it for various reasons. But in reality, you can't avoid it. There will be people in society who are teachers, there will be people in society who are leaders, there will be people in society who are business oriented, and there are people in society who just like to work, render service, whatever it is. And there are people who don't want to work at all, who are outside of that altogether, who whatever, another kind. So you're always going to get that, whether it's God-centered or not, whether it's structured or not, it exists by natural selection. You can't make a person be what they're not. Everyone's got their nature. We try to fit in as best we can according to our natures. But there's a scientific way of doing that. And of course we're very affected, Krishna explains, we're affected by the results, the activity we're doing, the results of it. He's not. So one who works under his guidelines also becomes freed of being affected or entangled in the cycle of birth and death, or the karmic cycle, karma bandha. One becomes free. And he gives a whole understanding, a very detailed understanding of what reaction and reaction and inaction are. And materially we don't get this, but there's no time to explain, but he explains what action is and what inaction is, and what what's the word he uses? Action, yeah, these two things. And then there's another one, which is transcendental action. So there's karma, vikarma, and akarma are explained. Karma, most people know, action that leads to a reaction. But most people in this world are engaged in what's called vikarma. Vikarma means activity which is not according to the varnashram dharma structure or religious guidelines. It's by our own invention, our own, minds, desires, whatever, acting against the guidelines, or acting against the descending process coming down from the Supreme. We're acting whimsically, which most of us are. We make up our own rules, our own lifestyle, even our own religious interpretations and so on. So it's vikarma. Akarma means that we act in knowledge of the transcendental nature of God. So there's no reaction at all. It's not just a good reaction. There's no material reaction. That's kind of a deep, little complex issue. Then he goes on to describe various practices people may undergo in order to understand deeply different study of the scriptures, austerities, giving in charity, following religious activities, taking up the life of brahmacharya, following the varnashram dharma, and so on and so forth. All kinds of different activities which people may undergo. But unless they lead to transcendence, they remain material. So ultimately, all these types of sacrifices meant for a higher purpose, they may cleanse us of sinful reactions, but they must also lead to spiritual understanding. And they're all approved by the Vedas, so to some degree one is surrendering by these various acts if they're approved by the ancient Vedic directives. But the key verse, which we'll finish off on here, is text number 34 in this regard. What transforms our activities or our philosophy or whatever it may be, our religious practices, whatever it is we're doing in life, our identities, what transforms that into spiritual understanding or transcendence. The text 13, number 34 verse of this chapter is the turning point, the key. Who knows this verse? Fourth chapter, text 34.
Oh.
It's a famous verse. Somebody speak. Pardon? Yes, you got it, Alex. Tadvidi pranipatinya pariprashnen seva. Upadekshantiti jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. What does this mean? I'm sure you know. You just can't link the two. What does it mean? Who knows? Just try to learn the truth. If you want to know the truth, we've already heard that in the beginning of the chapter. It comes down from one teacher to the next, one king to the next, like this, whatever line it's in. Different lines are there. But the knowledge is descending like this and passed on unbroken. So try to learn the truth by
approaching a spiritual master.
Approaching a spiritual master. And what are you supposed to do then? Hello, here I am. You look very nice. I like your beard. I've approached a spiritual master. Is that what it means? If I give you 10 pounds, will you show me the light? What does it mean?
Inquire submissively.
Inquire, yes, to inquire submissively, by the way. Inquire submissively, and what else? Serving, render service. It's like you can inquire from somebody. Say, for instance, you ask me, please, could you give me a cup of water? What will it? And I say, I do nothing. Nothing at all. Here. Young lady. I inquire, you give me a cup of water, you do nothing. I say, did you hear what I said? Yes, I heard what you said. You asked me to bring you a cup of water. Do you think you could bring me a cup of water? Yes. Another 5 minutes. I heard what you said. What's your problem? I heard it. But if you don't do it, it doesn't have much benefit, does it? In fact, it has negative benefit because you think, what's the point of talking to this person? They agree to something and don't do it. It's not complete. So similarly in spiritual life, we may sit there, yes, and do nothing. Not going to work. Krishna has understood. Krishna himself says, Bhakti mama vijanati avanyas chasmi tatvadaha. That you can understand me by what method? How do you understand him? Surrendering. And by? Bhakti. Bhaktya mam. By devotional service unto him. Rendering service. We hear how to do it and we put it into practice. That's how it works. That's surrendering. It's not just, yes, I am a devotee, I love Krishna. If you love somebody, what do? You love your daughter, I can see that. So what do you do for your daughter? What do you do? Huh?
I protect her.
You protect her and? You serve her, right? You try to satisfy her, right? It's natural. You love her. Man loves his wife loves the husband. They try to do what pleases them, right? If you know your husband likes, what does your husband like? What does he like to eat? What does he like to eat? You happen to be sitting in the front. You'll sit in the back next time. What does your husband like to eat?
Idli sambar.
Idli! You must be from South India, are you? Yeah, a lot of you from South India, I think. Idli and sambar, okay? Are you from Tamil Nadu or Kerala or where? Tamil. Okay, idli, dosha, sambar. What else? Colombo? Colombo?
Colombo means curry.
Curry, nice curry, yeah. Vada, you like vada? Dahi vada, you like dahi vada? Okay. You're going to make some nice idli and dosa and sambar for your husband, okay? And you know he likes it. So what don't you like? Tell him, what don't you like to
We
eat?
don't like non-veg.
Huh?
We don't like non-veg.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty extreme example. I mean, if he were to come home and you've made, sausages and, whatever, fried cutlets or something, you're going to freak out, right? He's going to freak out. What is this nonsense? Right? You're going to make what he wants, right? As much as you can to keep him happy, right? If you know your husband doesn't like, whatever, eggplants or something. I'm sure you like eggplants. What do you call that? What's that? Begum? He doesn't like begum, so you just purposely. I remember one time, one of the boys, they I didn't do this. One of the person insisted to me. They said, "What does Maharaj like to eat?" And they said something. Please don't put any cabbage or tomatoes in. They read it wrongly. I got there. Everything had cabbage and potatoes. Absolutely everything. Potato, cabbage and tomatoes. There was tomato chutney. There was, cabbage pakoras, mixing the cabbage. There were cabbage and tomato sabji. The dal was full of cabbage and tomatoes. Tomato rice. Everything was tomato. It wasn't it was just a mistake. It wasn't purposely done. I don't think it was anyway. I hope not. But you try to find out what pleases a person if you want to satisfy them, and they feel good if you do that. Don't you feel happy when your wife makes beautiful idli, dosa, and sambar? You feel good,
Yes.
and you want to serve her, right? You want to give her something in return. It's a natural reciprocation. Love. Find out what Krishna wants. Don't speculate. He's telling us what he wants. His devotees tell us what he likes, according to our situation. Now, your tiny little girl, what can she cook at this stage? But if she comes to you with a little stone and gives you a little stone, you feel great. You feel like she's offering you what she thinks is good, right? She hopes it'll, that's her level. According to her level, we can't imitate. The pure devotees, they guide us in a way that we can render service. We can't imitate Arjuna or Hanuman or some of these, eternally pure souls. We can't do that. But we can at least do something which will please Krishna. And they show us, give us the chance to do that. Little things it may be. But it's the beginning or a stage on our progress in spiritual life. So that's a key verse. We approach. Why? Because they know the truth. They know the truth. And they can impart it unto us. And it's not just about telling us stories or telling us philosophy. It's helping us to know what can I do now to progress, to come to my spiritual constitutional nature and end all this birth, death, fear, and you name it, and awaken my loving relationship with Krishna. Well, this time has expired. There is more to the chapter, but that's just a little brief of the first part. Jai, Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much, and especially like to thank your daughter. She was fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Oh, glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all very much. If you have any questions, it's getting very late. It's 3:25. We're supposed to 3:20. That blocks fast by 3 minutes or 4 minutes, I believe. So it's time for Arti Kirtan and then Prasadam. Is that right? Is that correct? So we're going to proceed. Do we go into the temple now? How are you going to get everyone in the temple? It's going to be with great difficulty. With great difficulty. You know how to sit on each other's shoulders? Maybe the husbands, you'll have to carry your wife on your shoulders or something. What are you going to do?